Let's go, Dario.
All right.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's start with a question. Who does use ChatGPT at least once a week here? That's good. How about once a day? All right. More than expected. So the goal of today is going through a few things that I found out because I use it a lot. So it would be to just show you how you can get better results from ChatGPT, because it's pretty easy to just expect that you just ask something and then you will understand, but it's actually not the case. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have 3 sessions. Today we're gonna go through an overview and the essential functionality, and also the level 1, which is smart prompting. So how do you prompt efficiently? Then next session we're gonna do data analysis, and then level 3 will be custom GPT. So it's gonna get a little bit more complex as we go, but hopefully we can follow around. And if you have any questions, just stop me at any moment. So let's start. What is ChatGPT? Because you hear is AI, but what is AI, and exactly what field of AI ChatGPT is? So it falls into 3 fields of AI, which is machine learning, which involves teaching computer to learn from data, and then it makes decision and prediction. Then is part also of what is called NLP, which is natural language processing, which is basically the interaction between computer and human, and also NLG, which focus on generating human text. Specifically, ChatGPT, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. What it means, generative, that has the creativity to generate text. Pre-trained, that is trained on a vast amount of data. And transformer is just the type of architecture that they use. How exactly works? So when you give some instruction, the model breaks down words in small so-called tokens. So for example, the word playing, it might be split in 2 words, play and ing. And then based on the data that is trained, it tries to predict what's the most logic and probable answer. So it actually, you could say that it doesn't understand. It gives you the impression that it understands, but it just tries to predict things. So if we go through the essential functionality, you've probably seen this one on top on the left. You have the model selection. Now it's updated with the GPT 4.0. In our case, I always suggest to use the GPT 4.0. 3.5, try to avoid it because it's very imprecise and hallucinates a lot. What I mean by hallucinate is when it doesn't know the answer, it will not tell you, I don't know, it will just make something up. So you need to take everything it is saying with a little bit of, be careful what it says. Then if you find that you are over the limit, because GPT-4 also have limits, then you can switch to GPT-4 normal, which is still pretty good. But I will highly suggest to not do the GPT 3.5 anymore. Then we have a function that is the temporary chat, which in our case does not have any functionality because we are on a team plan. So basically whatever we use, whatever we say to ChatGPT is not used to train the model. So these data are safe. So the temporary chat in our case doesn't really make sense. Custom instruction. I don't know, Stefan, you like this one?
Yes, I do.
So what is custom instruction? Have you found yourself keep saying to ChatGPT, like, I want the prompt, I want your answer to be short, or I want it to be this way. And then you need to, every time you open a chat, you need to always say the same instruction. So you don't have to do that, because you can set custom instruction, which are things that is aware all the time. So every time you open a new chat, is aware of those things. And there are 2 important fields, and I suggest everyone to do those. So the first one is asking you what ChatGPT would like to know, what ChatGPT to know about you to provide a better answer. And here you can put, for example, your location, what language you speak, your professional background, if you have technical knowledge, if you have any preference on the content. And then the other field is how would you like ChatGPT to respond. So if you wanna response that are formal, if you prefer short or detailed answer, the length, and also if you want ChatGPT to have an opinion on facts. So fill up those two because, in my opinion, speed up a lot of the process. You can also, when you give instruction, you can also divide it. For example, you can say, if I ask you a question about SEO, I want to have details. But if I ask you to rephrase an email, then just give me the answer right away. So you don't have to do this all the time. This is an example of mine. So for example, and I use ChatGPT to actually write this, so it makes it even faster. I put, for example, I live in Sweden, I speak English, I have a degree in marketing, I have a background in IT, and all the other instruction. So every time that you start a new chat, is aware of that, so it will not give you generic answer. So that's already one thing that makes using ChatGPT much faster. If you don't have, yeah.
One question. Isn't it like you can also put in instruction that I'm very eager in learning more in this area,
Yeah.
so if this have to do anything with
Yeah.
that area, please mention that as well.
Yeah, you can say this, and you can say, please, if I ask you a question about this, give me all the details, so you don't have to do it all the time. Yeah. Okay, so smart prompting. There are two key elements when we prompt ChatGPT. So the first one is actually comes from IT, and is a principle that says garbage in, garbage out. So you probably heard it before. If you just give a bad prompt, it will give you a bad answer. That's the basic of it. So how do you make sure that you get, first of all, good prompt? First of all, you need to be specific. You need to avoid ambiguity. So if you are not sure about something, just make sure that you specify what you want, and also what is the outcome. Always specify what is the outcome. A little example is if you give the prompt, write a follow-up email to a client about our SEO service. This lacks specificity, so it would just give you a very generic email. But if you say, write a follow-up email to a client who recently ordered an SEO audit suggesting our SEO link building and explaining the benefit, this is way more specific, so it will craft you an email that is way better than the first prompt. And the second principle is context. So if you don't provide the context of what you're trying to achieve, ChatGPT is still going to give you generic answer. So it's important to include a little background info on your prompt, specify the scope, and also mention if you have any constraints or goals. Another example here is write an email to upsell our link building service to a client. There is no context whatsoever. But then if you say write a follow-up email to a current e-commerce client who recently ordered an SEO audit, mention the success of the previous campaign and suggesting our SEO link building, then you give a little bit of more context, so it will craft an email that is more precise. Okay. And now, how do you actually write those prompts? Because you don't have to do it yourself. You can do it with ChatGPT itself. So there is a few techniques that I've been using, and they are quite useful, and depends on what you're trying to do. And we'll go through a few of them. So the first one, it seems pretty easy that you should do that, but you can ask ChatGPT to refine your own prompt, because it will give you different answer. Let's take an example. For example, if you say write an email to an SEO client about SEO service, instead of just taking the answer, you ask ChatGPT, how can I improve this prompt to get a better response? And ChatGPT will say, to improve the prompt, you should ask me also to include more specific details about the client and the particular SEO service. For example, mentioning the client industry, the specific service. So it will not do that right away, but if you ask, how can I improve this prompt, and then give this prompt, it will give you a way better answer. So you're just leveraging ChatGPT to basically get better answer. The second one, which I found myself using quite a lot now, is to asking ChatGPT to ask you a question, because the more it goes back to the principle before. If you give more context and you are very specific, it will give you a better answer. Yep.
Can you put that into your custom version as well? That please ask me questions if you want me to do
Yeah.
it here, or like.
So you need to specify in which setting though, because otherwise it will ask you a question about everything.
Who's king in Sweden?
Yeah. But like if you, for example, this one, for example, I use it a lot when I need to have a brainstorming session and I don't know how to fix a problem. So in that case, I explain the problem and then I ask him, can you please ask me more questions to clarify? Then he will come up with some question, and then you answer the question, and then it will give you a better answer. And this also helps you because you encourage yourself also to think more deeply about the problem, because he might ask you a question that you didn't think before. So once you answer those questions, the prompt definitely gets better. Yeah. Another technique is, and it's still related to giving context. When you ask some information, you can give context based on different things. So you can provide email links, you can provide screenshots, or just text. Just for example, if I were to ask him, can you give me a product description for a phone, then the answer will be very generic. But if I say, can you give me a product description, this is a link of a similar product, and this is a screenshot of the phone that I want to, then the response will be so much better. So this goes back to the principle of context. You need to remember that you can give text, you can give screenshot, you can give links in order to provide more context. And the last one, this is a kind of weird one, because you will think that if you just ask something to ChatGPT, it will give you all the knowledge that he has. But actually there are some studies where it's shown that if you use the word imagine or suppose, ChatGPT kind of access a different kind of mode where it gets more creative. And this is, no one really knows why. It's thought because it's trained on human data. So if you have data where you say imagine or suppose, usually it takes into account a creative kind of scenario. So if you wanna have some brainstorming session or any other thing, just use those two, or either imagine or suppose, and then yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No,
for
no,
all my
please.
questions.
Yeah, no.
But
that's
is it
good.
the same with if you're too kind to the ChatGPT, that it's not that precise? That some people say you need to be very clear and not kind, because if you write like dear AI or in a kind way, it sort of doesn't really care what it answers in the same way as.
I haven't tried it because I haven't been rude yet.
But maybe if you have time, someone have time over, you can try that. But I heard that it should be.
Yeah, I've also heard that, and I think that has to do with when you're asking to do something that takes up a lot of like resources, and if you ask, could you please do this, it sometimes gives, oh, here is what you need to change, and then you have to provide the code you had before instead of just like giving you an entire one. So it gets a bit lazy.
I heard also if you tell him I will give you a tip of $100, it will get better.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that.
Because that's the thing. Like no one, even OpenAI, they know how it's built, but they still don't know how it works, which is scary in a way. So people have found those little loophole that if you tell him I give you a tip, then it will work better. And this is because you just train on human data. So it's just like a human would do. If you tell him I will give you a tip, probably will do a better job.
So if I write you are my slave, just
Yeah, it will still be kind to you, hopefully. But yeah, there is the smart prompting. If you have any question now before we move into what we're gonna have to do for homework, we can do it now, or we can try it out, up to you. If you have an example, that would be a good moment where you have you try to make it work but it didn't work for you. That would be also a good moment, so maybe we could show it online. If you have any case.
I have one thing. When I'm
Yeah.
looking at, I tried using ChatGPT for creating doing keyword research, finding different search intent.
Yeah.
And when I ask it for different search intent, it always comes up with 3 different ones. It's like, I want to buy something, I want to hear more about it, and the third one is kind of like, I want to read a comprehensive guide, like deep dive into the subject. And when I ask it for more search intent, it loops into this. So when I wanted to do like search intent for different link building search queries, it always comes down to these 3 again and again and again. And you can give me 30 different search intents, but they all are like these 3. So that's one thing I don't really know how to, because I mean there should be more than 3 typical search intents.
So in that case, I would try to use either imagine and suppose technique. So you would just tell him, imagine I'm this person, I have this background, and I'm interested in this. Then he would probably give you a different answer because he's trying to be more creative. If that doesn't work, probably the example one could work as well. So those 4 techniques, I can't tell you where they work best. Like I've just found that sometimes helps me. So you just have to test it and see which one works best for your use case. But in my opinion, if you need to have brainstorming session for a problem, the question 1 is the best. If you wanted to have more creative answer, then it's this one. And then if you want to have a little bit more detailed answer, then this one will work best because you're giving a lot of context. With this one, just be careful on one thing, that if you provide too many links, it just doesn't work. So I found that if you give them maybe 4 or 5 links to search, works, but then after that, it will not do it. As I say, it hallucinates a lot still, because it doesn't, it's not trained to say I don't know, and the way it's structured, it will never tell you I don't know. It will just predict what's the likely next word, and then it will come up with something. So don't trust him 100%. Always.
Why
back.
are you looking at me?
I don't know. You say you trusted your Hasse.
Yeah, Hasse is the smartest.
Yeah.
But I think I'm too nice to Hasse now, actually.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hasse.
Give ChatGPT a name. You can do that on the custom instruction. So tell him your name is Hasse, and from now on,
You answer to Hasse.
yeah, he will do. Okay, so what we went through today, so how ChatGPT basically understands and generate text, what difference is the 3 models that we went through and which one to use, the importance of custom instruction. I would suggest this one to do it everyone right away, because it already improves the level of the outputs massively. And then all those 4 techniques, and using example, or you can use it also for brainstorming. So because the goal is to get used in using it basically as much as you can, and I'm not saying that you need to rely on it, because that's not good, and you also don't have to trust him 100%. It would be good if you, on your daily routine, you try to apply maybe either one of those techniques, or you try to basically improve a prompt, so a problem that you had. So if you can do that, either one of those, and then send a screenshot, then the next session we can go through and see what's the difference. So you have 2 weeks, so I guess it will be plenty of time to do that. But yeah, that's the goal. Just get used to using it on your daily task, and then gain this efficiency, because there are a lot of efficiency to be gained by using it. Yep, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you.